VCT is back, and this year is a lot different than last year. For Americas, Americas is super stacked this year. Now, if you see my last video, I solely base it on Sentinels, and this time around, so close to the season, I just want to give a little synopsis on every team and what their storyline is going into this season. Keep in mind, the season is very long, it ends in like October, so things are subject to change. But this year, as we expect, the top teams include NRG, G2, and MIBR building a super team. But in my humble opinion, there are a lot of dark horses this year, just as Sen, 100 Thieves, and even EG. Just watch. Trust me. And this year, I anticipate it to be a lot more competitive and more fun to watch. So now, without further ado, let's get right into it. And we're going to start off again with Sentinels. So again, after a complete wipe on the team, the new team is Narrate, John QT, Cortezia, Kiyu, and Redux. Sadly, a lot of my favorite players from last season are gone: Zekin, Zelsis, and Bang. Personally, I have my concerns, but I do believe that they actually have a chance to be in #1 in the region. With a combination of John QT and Kiyu calling, I feel like a new look and a veteran outlook can be really beneficial for this team, especially after last year where it seems like Sen was just a little lost in the mid-rounding, and John wasn't fragging as much as he usually does. Lifting that burden from him can be a huge help, and now they're adding some extra firepower with Redux and even Cortezia. Cortezia has been one of the most consistent players in the offseason so far. Narrate switching to the full duelist role. If he can stay in top form and stay consistent, honestly, this team can be a force to reckon with, and I'm very excited to see what they accomplish. Now this year, their goal should be to qualify for international. With the new team, there's about to be some problems, and I don't fully expect them to make a deep run, but qualifying for international should be on this team's goal, so we'll see if they live up to that. Next up, we have the Region Demons in G2. After what was a controversial change in dropping Jonah P for Baby Bay, this team is still performing well. They 3-0'd NRG, the former world champs, in the Red Bull Invitational, but had a bit of a fall off during the Radiant Invitational where they finished 4th. After a three-peat of being America's champions last year, they did not really do well during internationals, with their best placement being 2nd place at Masters Bangkok. Now, while it may be a controversial change to sub out Jonah P for Baby Bay did actually put up some numbers in Split 2 of the 2025 season. Not only that, he brings a good energy and a good vibe to the team, and honestly, since they added Baby Bay to the main roster, I see G2 as a completely different team. Can this actually be the missing piece of the puzzle? Time will only tell. But the more time that he has in Tier 1, the better he'll be doing, and who knows, maybe we are entering the SMIG 2 era. Now this year for G2, after the three-peat of America, their goal should not only be to qualify for every international, but actually win an international trophy this year. They conquered Americas, but when it comes to these international tournaments, they kind of fall off, so that has to be top priority on their list this year. Anything other than that can be seen as a step down from what they usually do. Now for the returning world champs of NRG. Can they break the champs curse? So after making only one change, which they were kind of forced to do, after Sam retired right after champs, they picked up Kiko, a strong controller from EMEA. So far, we've only seen him at Red Bull Homegrounds, but he looks to be a consistent part of the game, and as strong as NRG is, they also did make the finals of Red Bull Homegrounds. They did get 3-0'd, and coming off of being champs winners, that can be seen as a step down. Also remember that Kiko is new to the team. He has to fit into their protocols. Ethan's calling, so it is going to take some time for him to get used to everything and also being in a new region. There's been some question as to if he could fill Sam's shoes, but I personally think that is completely possible, and NRG can stay the powerhouse that they have been during Split 2 and for champs. Now being the top team, all other teams are going to have their eyes on them. This is why they always say staying at the top is always harder than getting to the top. So their goal this year will be to break the champs curse. Now what does that mean? Continuing to qualify for regional playoffs and also making deep runs at international tournaments, which also entails qualifying for these international tournaments. You can't expect to win every tournament, but if they make a deep run and showing that they're still a top team, I feel like that curse is broken and they're doing their job and they're right where they should be. Next, we got 100 Thieves. Unfortunately for 100 Thieves, they've been kind of labeled as king of the mids. With their last international qualification being Master Shanghai, they kept the core that they kind of lost last year, but Bang is back home. They added a new duelist in Timatino and a new IGL in Vora, both from TSM and Tier 2. Cryo is now switching full-time to the Sentinel role, which isn't a new role for him. He has flexed it, and with the Shaper meta coming back, it kind of works out for him in that way. Now the question is this year, can the new additions from TSM bring 100 Thieves up from where they were last year, where they seemed kind of lost, they see kind of like trying to find their identity once more, and can Asuna perform at the level that he once was performing at? Being 100 Thieves' longest tenured player, after every season it's been a question whether he'd be dropped or not, and right now he's still there, and I fully will believe that he deserves to be there. So a new IGL, new duelist, and Cryo in a new role, can this all work out with the return of 100 Thieves' base core? Now what should their goal be? What's their storyline here? 100 Thieves looks like a formidable team, and they're one of the sleeper picks for the year, and this year honestly there's a lot of them. Considering the level of competition that's coming into this year, I do see 100 Thieves being playoff contenders regionally and fully expect them to make deep runs in these playoffs. I can also see the potential of them qualifying for an international tournament. Now, how well they do in that tournament, I'm not really sure, but I do see that happening this year. Now we have Lev. After a top 3 finish the Champs 2024, Lev is back and it's almost a completely new roster from that 2024 roster. Another team that made a lot of changes, retaining only King and Sato, who Sato only came in to Lev during Split 2. Now Sato has insane mechanical ability and truly can be a top 3 duelist of this year, which is staying a lot because Americas has completely stacked duelists. Zekin, Mata, Aspas, Narade, Oxy, Jogamo, the list goes on, and I still see him at the top of that list. Now alongside him is Neon, a tier 2 player also coming to the roster, but won't be able to play during kickoff. So for now, PXS will be filling in for him, who he also filled in for 2G last season, and actually seems like a solid player who deserves a tier 1 spot. Spike, who also played for 2G last season, will be joining the roster, who was arguably 2G's best player. Though he did not also play the full season last year, also due to age, he did make a statement in the games that he did play. Now rounding out the roster is Blows, who's coming up from Lev's academy team. Now truly, I'm not entirely sure how I feel about this roster. I do like Sato. King is a really good IGL, but going off the strength of what I see from them previously, they can make deep playoff runs regionally. I'm not entirely sure if I see them qualifying for internationals this year, but I wouldn't be surprised if they did either. Now we have C9, the Nepo squad. Zelsis returns again. Another controversial roster move as they drop Mitch for Zelsis, and Zelsis now becoming the team's new IGL, who in this case will be completely new to IGL. He was a great mid-rounder for Sen, but now he's picking up that full-time role. Not only that, he is the vibes merchant. So as he's IGLing, I'm sure he's looking to keep the morale up, keep the energy up throughout the games and the season. Now how well his calling will do, we have to see, but he will be running it down with a squad of Zeppa, Vic, and Oxy. Now these three had every ability to light up the scoreboard last season. Staying consistent was where their issue persisted. Oxy, with almost the most electric plays of the season, didn't necessarily show up during every match last year, which is honestly hard to do. If they're able to keep that consistency, they have every opportunity to do a lot better than everyone expects. Rounding out this roster is Zelsis' old teammate from version 1, Penny. Now after some time in EMEA, he's returning to Americas and looks to bring this calm consistency to the team. Exactly what he has brought in EMEA. What's their goal? What's the story this year? Every season, C9 has missed their internationals. They make a deep playoff run. It seems like it's going to happen. Seems like it's going to be the split the year, and then it just doesn't happen. Their goal this year is definitely to qualify for an internationals. How well they do in internationals up for debate, but that's almost certain that's their top priority for this year. Now, is anything short of that a failure? No, but I do feel like that is what they're putting their most importance on this year. Now we move on to America's new super team. MIBR, Aspas and Zekin and friends, whatever you want to say about it, this team looks scary. Now, MIBR had a really good season last year that a lot of people questioned in the beginning, even myself. Aspas signed with MIBR, teamed up with Artsin, and then like 3 new rookies. And yet somehow this team finished top 4 in champs. The rookies showed up last season. So you would expect not much changes would be made, and that's exactly what didn't happen. MIBR dropping Artsin, Cortazir, and Genom made way for Tex, Mazzino, and Zekin. Tex and Mazzino formerly playing with Aspas on Lev. Zekin coming over from Sentinels as the top duelist, one of the top duelists in the world. Playing alongside the goated Aspas, this team is dangerous. And a fragging IGL and what seemed like really good calling from Verno last year, making its way over to this year. This team, if working well together, can be the number 1 team for Americas all season long. Now, can they break that super team curse? Every year, there's always some super team that we think is just going to run it down, go undefeated, win champs, win a Masters, and that hasn't really happened yet. Didn't happen with Sentinels, didn't happen with Vitality, but for some reason, this year feels like they will break that super team curse. Now, after qualifying for internationals last year and doing well at champs, that goal has to remain the same. Winning a split also has to be a goal of theirs, and I could actually see them winning an international tournament this year. Now we move on to Crew, just another sleeper pick. Now I haven't heard much people talking about Crew other than when the roster dropped, but they're low-key looking scary. Don't believe me? Sadak is returning to Americas, one of the goated IGLs of Americas. 2022 champs winning Sadak returning with his counterpart Les. Now they both did have a quiet year over in EMEA, but I'm expecting a strong bounce back season from both of them, alongside their new duelist, Dante Du. Now he came in last season as split 2 for Crew, took over the duelist role from Kesnin as Kesnin did a role switch, and during a short time, he showed a lot of promise. Now he's just looking to improve his form in the 2026 season, which I truly believe that he can. MW Zera is returning, and there's been a lot of questions lately on his form. Is he still what he used to be? And he's also looking for a bounce back season this year, which I'm sure his focus is on, and I'm sure that he will achieve that, honestly. Silence, another 2G player that got picked up in tier 1, and I'm so happy to see a lot of 2G players making it into tier 1 because they were a really good team. They had a lot of roster turmoil last year, and Silence was one of their best players throughout the season. Someone that's also looking to continue their form and just improve on that, working with one of the goated IGLs, I'm sure will go a long way for him and his numbers. This team is actually stacked, and because a lot of them didn't make so much noise last year, I feel like a lot of teams, a lot of players, a lot of analysts are just sweeping them under the rug, but they could really truly be a dark horse. And for that, I feel like their goal for this season is to make deep runs regionally, and they also have a potential to qualify for an international. Speaking of 2022 winning champs, Loud. Now, what was a pretty disappointing 2025 season, Loud seemed to have a lot of promise in the beginning of the season with DGZine being their main duelist, and then a lot of changes throughout the season. Pankata and Kawanzine staying on the roster, Pankata now being the new IGL, which is another new IGL for the season. Their last IGL being Robbie BK, who admittedly we all kind of felt like was just a temporary solution to get through the season. But with the departure of Robbie BK, Darker is now part of the team. Verdi will stay on as the main duelist, and Luxo, who came into the season actually lighting up the scoreboard and kind of turning their season around just a little bit more than where we thought it was going. The team has a lot of potential for a lot of upset wins. Now, in terms of their strength and how strong they are, I'm not entirely sure how much I believe in this roster at the moment right now, but because they are still a strong roster, I feel like they can make deep playoff runs regionally. I don't necessarily see them qualifying for an international this year, but I'm truly hoping to be surprised. Now we move on to EG, and this is my sleeper pick for the year. At the end of 2025, the EG roster were so close each time to taking down teams like NRG and G2. Another team that's entirely changing up their roster, retaining only Supermen. Maybe they can captivate that match for 2023. Maybe not exactly 2023 or winning champs, but a very strong team this year. Tom is returning to the org, and he will be IGLing for the first time. So that's the third new IGL in Americas. Now they're looking to add a lot of firepower. DGZine, previously of Loud, is returning to tier 1, and who will obviously be on the duelist role. Now the player that I feel like will make a lot of noise, a lot of difference, is actually Okeanos. Now he came in split 2 for Love alongside Sato, and while Sato did light up the scoreboard, Okeanos was a little inconsistent, but when he made his plays, he showed a lot of promise, and now if he stays in form throughout the season, he will be one of the top rated players in Americas. Now rounding off their roster is Bao. Now Bao seems like Mr. Consistent, and truly is a solid pick to round out their roster. Now only because America is as stacked as it is this season, I'm not entirely sure if I see them qualifying for an internationals, but I definitely see them making deep playoff run this year and upsetting at least one of the top 3 teams. Next up, we have Furia. Now Furia went from being a decent team to one of the lower end teams, with only winning 1 game last season, and that was against 2G, the Ascension team, with the lone roster from YFP. They suffered a lot of visa issues, which kind of made it hard for them to practice and get it going together, which is honestly just a lot of unfortunate circumstances. This year, they have an entirely new roster. EU, previously of 100 Thieves, is now on Furia. Artzine, previously of MIBR, and joining the team will be Koala Noob, EU's old teammate from M80, and Alam and Nerve will be rounding out this roster. Now, truth be told, don't know much about Alam and Nerve, but they seem like solid players. And this year, Furia, I feel like they just need to qualify for a regional playoffs. That should be their goal in mind. It'd be a big step up from where they were last season and moving in the right direction. If they want to keep their partnership spot after this year, because everybody is being reassessed for who qualifies for partnership, they need to do a lot better than they have been recently. Lastly, we have Envy, the Ascension team. Not only is it Envy's return to Valorant, but this is part of the Envy's return to esports in general. A storied franchise that took over the old Optic Core before they became NRG, signed the Rankers, which was a tier 2 team led by Inspire, or previously Baby J, and now they're a tier 1 team. So this year, they're looking to make an impact in tier 1. Prove to Riot Games, prove to Valorant, prove to everybody that they are a force to be reckoned with. Now their roster, Baby J or Inspire, returning to tier 1 after a very short stint in tier 1. They have Exter, the Yoru 1 trick. How long is that going to last? I'm not entirely sure, but if it works, it works. If it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? And pop in their IGL. Now this team, these 3, alongside Ion and Kane Zera, ran through Ascension. They were looking like the strongest team for a long time, and it proved when it mattered most in winning Ascension and now being a guest, earning that guest slot. Problem coming from tier 2 is that there's no age restriction until you get to tier 1. What does that leave them? Their best player, Kane Zera, is not able to play until more or less Stage 2. One of their other best players, Ion, he's not available to play entirely for the season, so now he's being loaned out to Shopify Rebellion to play in Tier 2. Filling in the squad is the iconic duelist, Kesnet. Now, it was rumored for a while, they just recently announced that. I'm not sure how this fit is going to work out for him, but it is Kesnet, and he can run it down when he wants to. When he stays consistent, he is one of the best duelists in the world. So to me, it makes a lot of sense why they would pick him up, why they would have him fill in for their slot for Kane Zera. Question becomes, does Kesnet stay on the roster if he does perform as well as we always expect him to perform, or does he get dropped anyway for Kane Zera? Where does that go? That's a very interesting storyline that I'm very excited to see later on in the season. Now, the other move is Rossi. Rossi's been kind of around from team to team. He was on C9 for a stint, then he moved to Lev, and now it seems like he's filling in for Ion. Now, it really comes down to, between Kesnet and Rossi, who's the better performing player to stay on the team for the full year and replace Ion. But with these changes and it being 2 of Envy's best players, this season so far, at least in the beginning, seems like a lot of a toss-up. Inspire proving to teams that he deserved a tier 1 spot, and pretty much everyone on that roster and the org is also trying to show the same thing. Now, with it being a tier 2 team coming up for Ascension, their goal really should be to qualify for internationals. I'm not exactly sure how much I believe that that's going to happen this year for them, so that's going to do it for today's video. Know in the comments what you guys think. Did I get everything right? Did I get everything wrong? And if you enjoyed the video, please like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.